So my name's Marcus Idle. I'm the head of external identity at Kocho. I've been knocking around for 8 years here and was around for the introduction of AAD B2C into the world. And now we're obviously seeing some changes in that area, and we'll talk about that. And we'll have a bit of a deep dive in our afternoon session. So we've worked very closely with Rohit and a lot of other Microsoft people. We've really appreciated their help in kind of understanding and being pioneers in using this technology and developing it for our clients, for you guys. And I think a lot of you have, or some of you have worked with some of my team. So my team are pretty much dedicated to external identity, AAD B2C, and B2B collaboration. And if you haven't met or worked with my team, then it's about time. So we're going to be talking about how to balance customer experience with security. Obviously, as any organization in any type of business or government organization or whatever you're doing, you don't exist in an island. You have to do business with people. You have customers or members or other users that you require to log onto your website and your apps, because that's the way you interact with the rest of the world. So it's important that that's possible, that's easy. It's usually a sign of success that your customers can sign in easily, but at the same time we have to balance that with security and make sure that we're not letting bad actors in and not letting them steal credentials and ultimately steal resources, steal money, whatever it is that they're going to do to our organization. So we're going to talk a little bit about the challenge and then how some of these technologies protect users and protect your organization, and then we're going to be talking about this other side of things, keeping users engaged, ensuring that you're getting a good number of signups and people can log in okay and that kind of thing, and then we're going to go to conclusions. And we're going to cover a few bits of tech on the way. Some of the slides will be similar to what you've seen from Rohit, but I make no apology for that. And then, if you want to learn a bit more and ask more questions, then come to the session with me and Ines this afternoon on external identity. So these are a couple of examples of organizations where technology has failed them because they've let users in who are bad actors, and we know an organization who had a substantial chunk of money stolen because of creating guest accounts effectively and not managing those accounts. So we talked about customers. We also have to think about suppliers and partners and other people that work with you, and how do you let them in and help you manage your business? Because again, no business is an island. You may have teams of people who are hybrid, so employees and externals working together to achieve a common goal. Sometimes when you create accounts for these externals, you give them access to things. They can then leave, they might be disgruntled, and this is what happened. So an account was created. This external user had access to purchase stuff and advertisements in this particular case on behalf of our client, and just kept on buying that stuff, but putting it to other uses. So in the end, before anything was discovered, at least 2.5 million had been stolen from this professional services organization. Next example, a manufacturer. They needed very clear auditing. So they didn't know who had access to what. Their auditors were very keen to understand how that had happened and how to get a grip on things. So again, unmanaged guest accounts, creating accounts for users, giving them access all over the place, and that can create a kind of spaghetti of access. And obviously we've got a session on identity governance to dig into that later. Then on the customer side, major UK retail business experiencing credential theft. What was the cause of that? Brute force attacks against their website. So, very common thing. And if you don't have a platform that is protecting against this kind of attack, you're very vulnerable to this attack. So, what's the story? How does the Microsoft technology that we work with deal with all of this? Let's start with the kind of pattern that we're working with Entra ID, Entra External ID. So when you use Entra External ID as an authentication platform, that exists here in the middle of the slide, and you're delegating the decisions on authentication to that box in the middle. So your website, your mobile applications down at the bottom there, they don't have to worry about how to manage passwords, how to handle passwords or password lists. We talked about passkeys, FIDO2, maybe other forms of authentication, password lists, mobile-based authentication. It's all done there in the middle. So that creates a black box, if you like, to make sure that passwords are handled correctly. And at the end of the process, a token is returned back to the website to say, this person is logged in, this person is logged in successfully. What's happening as well on the edge there is templates are being brought in so that this experience can be skinned, and we'll come on to that a bit later. But also the authentication experience can communicate with your back office. So you've got the ability to make checks against a user. You can ask them for particular bits of information when they first sign up to your service, for your website. These can all be passed into your CRM or whatever other systems you're using to check the validity of that user. So this is part of an automatic check if you're onboarding users that you need to know something about. So the authentication experience there in the middle is currently AAD B2C or Entra ID, and it's the same pattern for Entra External Identity. So I'll explain the difference as we go on. What this does for your users is apply various layers of security. So you've got the directory of usernames and passwords, which is obviously industry standard, secured and encrypted. Then you've got the communication that happens between your website and the authentication experience. So as I said, at the end of the authentication process, a token is returned to your website. How do we know that's a secure process? So this is a process that's been tried and tested. OpenID Connect or OAuth is the protocol that's being used, and OpenID Connect is a layer on top. If your website is using that correctly, using the right libraries, then the communication that happens between your website and the authentication experience in the middle is going to be secure, and you're going to be able to trust it. But then you've got a couple of other layers doing user risk detection. So AAD B2C knows as soon as you hit the authentication experience where you've come from, whether there's any botnets operating in that area, previous patterns of use, if you've hit the site before, that kind of information. And as soon as you've signed in, of course, your email or your other credentials are known, and that can be compared to stolen credentials, for example. So a level of risk is calculated, and we'll go on to sort of how that's dealt with. But everything about the user that can be known at that point is used to calculate the level of risk, but also external events. So what's happening in the rest of the world, what botnets are active, what credentials have been stolen. So a picture is built up of the risk posed by that user. So Rohit showed a slide very similar to this before. So obviously that information about risk can then be used to make decisions. So allow access, allow them straight in, require MFA, so phone or text-based or authenticator-based or however you want to do it. Or with some applications, you can limit access. So you can say, well, we understand, we have a level of trust that you are who you say you are, but you're not going to get so far without additional MFA, for example. Or you can lock the user out or require a password reset. And conditional access, so which exists in Enter ID and in AD B2C, allows the user journey essentially to take that level of risk and then decide what to do. So there are additional layers on top which you can use to further secure the experience. So we're just going to hit that, but also I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. So, for example, when you ask the user to choose a password, you can compare that password against a list of known passwords, in other words, stolen passwords. And you can say, well, since this password is on a list of stolen passwords, I don't want you to use this for your passwords. So please, can you change it? So that's the AAD B2C user journey calling out to password checking service. It passes the hash of the password to that service, obviously, rather than the password itself, and getting an answer back. Has it been stolen or not, essentially. So there's a bunch of things we can do to secure the experience, but if we're locked up like Fort Knox, how do we attract users? How do we make sure there's great throughput? Users aren't dropping out at any of these stages. And of course, some of these I've hinted at already. With MFA and conditional access, you don't want to necessarily ask for MFA every time. You want to understand, okay, it's the same user using this device. They've used this device before. Seems like a good pattern of use, so we're going to let them in. So you're kind of removing blocks from the user without the user even knowing. And the users who are MFA'd with conditional access are most likely to be, using a new device in a new country or whatever it is. And I'm just going to go into the example with BT. I just showed you some of the EE website just there. EE is part of BT Group, and we've been working. Oh, sorry, this is a different one. IET. I'll go on to BT in a second. So IET is the Institution of Engineering and Technology. So they had their major problem. So the thing that was kind of preventing users from enjoying using their services and making users phone the help desk and say, what's going on? I can't sign into my app, was the fact that all of their applications were pointed at different authentication systems. So they'd grown organically over the years, added new services on, and each new service came with a separate method of authentication, separate database of usernames and passwords. So their prime objective with using AD B2C to kind of pull everything together was user satisfaction. So give the users one identity to sign into everything, make sure that identity is secured, so the authentication experience is a strong one, reduce calls to help desk. So it kind of killed many birds with one stone. When you hit the IET website, you get this. And the important thing, again, with the experience was to make sure that there wasn't a kind of jarring experience between the IET website and the authentication pages on B2C. Because as I explained earlier, you have the authentication experience is hosted on Entra or hosted on Azure. It's kind of a black box. So you have to navigate to that page. Luckily, we can skin the experience. So this, we had HTML and CSS from IET and made it look exactly how they wanted. So exactly like the rest of the site, essentially, but with some menus at the top removed, and then made it as easy as possible for users to understand. Okay, what do I need to do now to register or sign in? Again, we can skin AAD B2C and now enter external ID with backgrounds, logos, colors, and so on. So it's not a jarring experience. But going on to BT, so again, they wanted to move off a platform that was not providing the best authentication or let's say threat detection and management, and also make an experience that was good for users. The same experience across different brands like EE and PlusNet. So they wanted to research, what is the best user experience so that users don't drop out of the sign-up process. And again, if I just go back to the EE slide, bear with me 1 second. And hit go here. So they're very keen on usability, making sure that they can measure the user experience, measure how users are responding to this experience. And one of the things they did was just make sure that, or we did together, was make sure that every step of the way there's very little choice for the user. So it's always enter one thing. First of all, username, now password. We go past this check and create a good password, and then any other details. So everything is kind of split out, so the user has to make very few decisions during the process. So it's kind of the "don't make me think" principle. So there's a very famous book by a guy called Steve Krug on usability called "Don't Make Me Think." It's basically making sure that the buttons are where the user expects them to be. There's not too many decisions. Obviously, we have to have a few things on the page there because if I forgot my password, where do I go next? But the obvious buttons are the ones that are highlighted, and everything is split out, so it's not username and password on one page. Let me just jump back. So a couple of other fairly clever things we did with BT. So one is device flow. So how do you log in from your TV? Do you want a little keyboard coming up at the bottom of the TV, and you can kind of scroll around and find all the letters that comprise your password and all the symbols? No, you don't want that. So we created this thing called device flow, where you actually navigate back to your phone, and while the TV is waiting for you to sign in, it's kind of polling something called device flow proxy. So polling a service to say, has this user logged in yet? And then this authenticates via Azure B2C. So the user authenticates via Azure AD B2C, and then once that's done, you'll sign into your TV. Another little thing we did is app to web. So basically making sure that if you're signed in on mobile and you need to navigate to the web app to complete a process, log a support issue or anything like that, that your session is replicated over on the web app. So everything's kind of brought across. You don't need to sign in again on the web. Okay, I am going to skip over. I will say, yeah, so I will just say actually on identity governance and B2B guest access, which we will go into a little bit further in other sessions. But again, it's kind of making sure that that process is very smooth for the user. So with the identity governance features, you can, as an external user, you can request an access package, go through approval, and then go into this access review cycle. So the security is still there with the approval and the access reviews, but it's an easy way for your external users to sign in and get access depending on your process. So there are a few processes for onboarding your B2B guest users. One, if you know them in advance and you're just onboarding one at a time, you can invite them from the Use Your portal. If you know them in advance and you've got a big CSV of your users, you can invite them in bulk or via Graph API. But this one we've just looked at, access packages. So this is if you need some kind of manual process, so you need somebody approving, whether it's your main external contact, or your internal contact. But then if you can automate this process by asking for a couple of attributes from the user or verified ID, then it can be completely automated with no manual approval. So lots of ways to kind of smooth the process depending on what information you have about your users and when, and whether they need a manual approval or whether you can match up some of this information with what you've got in the back office. And then very quickly, Rohit's already mentioned identity verification. I'm just going to show you how this looks from a user point of view. If I can just find the play button. So, as Rohit mentioned, so you can store verified credentials in your digital wallet, which can be the Authenticator app, can be your own homegrown app using the Microsoft library for various purposes. So this particular example shows acquiring an employee ID or employee credential. Sorry, no, this is passport check, and then going on to on board as a new user, as an employee. So verified ID is useful. Again, no organization is an island. It's useful when an organization wants to acquire some information about you as a user, but you may have stored that information at another organization. Or put it from the user's perspective, I don't want to fill in the same form again and again and again. I want to acquire my credential, which says this credential says, this is my name. I've done my passport check. So over in the corner there, I'm acquiring this credential by pointing my phone at the QR code. So now I have it in my digital wallet, in my Authenticator app. Just after putting the PIN in. So there it is in the app. And then you can then present that credential elsewhere. So in this case, onboarding as an employee, I can say, yes, I am who I say I am, and present the credential at the employee portal. So again, this is a question of pointing my phone at this QR code. This QR code is a different one. It's not giving me a credential. It's saying, I want to check you've got this credential. And then I have the option to yes or no, do I present this credential? I will gloss over the rest of the presentation if I can find my mouse. So very quickly, the successor to AAD-B2C, Enter External ID, is becoming more feature-rich by the month and by the day. The main difference is, again, as Rohit said, you've got all of the capabilities of Entra ID. It's based on the same platform. There's no more divergence. So your back office users will have access reviews and access packages and everything else that's developed in Entra ID. And your customers can sign into your apps. You can connect any app to it as before. There is a difference in the way in which the sign-up journeys or sign-in journeys are crafted. So no more XML, but there's an event model which allows you to call out to other processes to again enrich the sign-up and sign-in process. I am over time, so if you want to know a bit more about this, then yeah, please attend the session with me and Ines later. So again, very quickly, if you want to kind of understand how to achieve all this, how to do the security you need to do, but still make a good experience for your users, so that they're onboarded successfully, so you as an organization remain or become more successful. We can provide a program of kind of rollout of these features. And in terms of customer identity, again, same thing, and look at whether you need to migrate from existing legacy authentication systems or migrate from B2C if you're thinking about the new CIAM platform. And that is me. So thank you very much for your attention, and look forward to seeing you later.